There has been a rally in a number of mining stocks over the past few weeks, with diversified miners like Anglo American up nearly 40%, Glencore up almost 30% since the start of this year. There's also been some stabilization in the prices of iron ore and manganese. So does this mean that we are seeing the end of the commodities crash? Well, in studio with me to discuss the outlook for commodities is Finweek editor Jana Marais. Jana, thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. Let's maybe go back to some of the drivers that have been driving commodity prices and these miners.
Yes, I don't know if we can call it a sustainable recovery yet. To be honest, I think a lot of people will probably agree with me when I say it's more that people think it probably was oversold. So how sustainable the recovery is going to be is another thing. We've had Investec say the mining sector is not nearly out of the woods yet. And, you know, China has been a big factor. We saw a rally today in commodity prices after the People's Bank of China said, you know, they don't think that economy is going to have a crash landing. But, you know, there's hedge funds betting big amounts of money that it is actually going to crash. Yeah. So let's see, I suppose, is the answer.
You mentioned something there about Investec and what they think. So we have a clock, and it's going to be coming up on screen in just a moment, so you can take us through it because they've got interesting views on when we are on the cycle and whether or not we are faced with a crash. If we can get that up in just a moment, and there we are. So that is the Investec mining clock. Just talk to us through that, because 12 o'clock is a crash and 6, yep, we've got a boom.
Yes, so mining is very cyclical, and the experts at Investec has drawn up this nice and handy clock for us, and where they say, according to Investec, we're sitting somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock. Okay. So basically we've already seen companies cutting their dividends. I think South32 this week said they're cutting a dividend. We've had the big asset write-downs. We've seen credit agencies downgrade Anglo, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Basically their debt is junk ratings.
All the negative things.
So all the negative things, we've made progress on the negative side. Yes. We're close to, you know, I think the big question now is, are we actually seeing the metal prices stabilize? And the recapitalization of the industry starting, which
and that's
you
at
can
4
see
o'clock.
is which is on 4 o'clock, exactly. And I suppose for people trying to call the market, you want to get in before the boom starts at 6 o'clock. So really you want to try and time it somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock. Yeah, I think you mentioned we've seen some stabilization in iron ore and manganese prices. I personally would want to see a lot more of that happening before I would say, yes, definitely we're at 4 o'clock. Recapitalization of the industry, we've seen a little bit of that, or signs of that starting to happen. We've seen Anglo American saying they're going to start buying back about $1.3 billion worth of bonds. We've seen Glencore coming out saying they're refinancing credit facilities. I think that was probably behind a lot of their share price rallies as well that we've seen since the start of the year. So I don't know if we're at 4 o'clock yet, probably not. Maybe wait for a few more cash takeovers and M&A. We've seen some M&A activity from the likes of Sibanye Gold, but maybe let's wait and see if once the major guys like BHP Billiton, you know, that league of players start getting seriously involved in M&A. I think you probably can start banking on a recovery.
We've also been seeing some of the gold mining companies coming up and saying they've been reducing their debt, and I see that's also around that past 4 o'clock. So I guess we'll have to see how things pan out. I'm really hoping that we are past that, or closer towards 4 o'clock than we were before. Jana, thanks so much. It was a handy tool that we got from Investec there. Jana Marais, Finweek editor. Of course, she was taking us through the editor's choice. Do stay with us, because when we come back, we'll be taking a look at South Africa's post-budget day, what we can expect economically, and of course, what does this mean for your pockets? Stay with us.